All right, let's dive into one of my favorite little-known stories in film history. We're going to pull back the curtain on the sci-fi masterpiece Arrival. And believe me, this is a wild story about a creative crisis, a last-minute stroke of genius, and how one blockbuster's success secretly forced Arrival to become the incredible film we all know and love today.
So let me just ask you this. Did you know that the deeply moving, absolutely mind-bending ending of Arrival? Yeah, that wasn't the original plan at all. In fact, it was changed at the 11th hour because another massive sci-fi movie completely beat them to the punch. Let's get into it.
Okay, so our story really begins with this brilliant but famously unfilmable novella. Screenwriter Eric Heiser just fell in love with Ted Chiang's story of your life, and he spent years, literally years, trying to convince Hollywood that this super complex internal narrative could actually work as a movie. And the thing is, the original book was so different from the final film. It's really meditative, it's non-linear, and there's no real threat of a global war. The aliens, the heptapods, they don't even land on Earth. They just communicate through these little devices called looking glasses. So to make it work for the big screen, the screenwriter had to invent all the high stakes. The 12 ships landing across the globe, the world on the brink of war, all of that was added for the movie. Now, this need to create higher stakes led to a completely different idea for what the aliens' gift to humanity was supposed to be. And honestly, what they had in mind at first completely changes how you see the entire film.
So, the original gift, it wasn't a language. Nope, it was blueprints. Blueprints for a giant interstellar ship, basically an ark, designed to help humanity get off of Earth and colonize the stars. A much more standard sci-fi, physical piece of technology.
And the logic behind it was pretty straightforward, really. The heptapods, seeing into the future, knew they'd need humanity's help in about 3,000 years. So their gift was basically a toolkit. It was them saying, here are the plans for a ship. Go out there, colonize space, and just get ready to help us out when we give you a call. A very practical, technological fix to a long-term problem.
And then, the story's real-life villain showed up. Just as the Arrival team was getting this whole arc ending figured out, another huge sci-fi epic was about to be released, and it created this massive existential problem for them.
So picture this. After years of developing this script, everything comes to a screeching halt in November 2014. Why? Because that's when Christopher Nolan's Interstellar hit theaters. And as the Arrival filmmakers are sitting there in the audience watching it, they get that horrible sinking feeling that their big finale is in very serious trouble.
And here's why they were freaking out. Interstellar's climax revealed that a future intelligence, in their case future humans, gifted the present with the data needed to build these massive space stations and evacuate Earth. A blueprint for survival. Sound familiar?
Just look at this. The similarities were just undeniable. In both stories, you've got a future intelligence giving a technological gift to help humanity survive by leaving Earth. Whether it's gravitational data coming out of a bookshelf or ship blueprints from a heptapod, the core idea was pretty much identical. For the filmmakers, this was a complete creative nightmare.
And that quote right there just says it all. It was the collective feeling in the room. Okay, well, this doesn't quite work now. There was no denying it. The ending they had poured years into was suddenly going to look like a copycat. They had to go back to the drawing board, and they had to do it fast.
But here's the magic. This is where that crisis turns into an act of pure creative genius. Because instead of just making a few tweaks, they made a radical pivot that, funnily enough, took the film right back to the very heart of the original book. They pivoted to language. So they leaned into this really cool, kind of heady linguistic concept called the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. Now, in simple terms, it's the theory that the language you speak actually shapes how you think and perceive reality itself. So they started asking, what if the gift isn't something you build? What if it's something you learn? Something that could literally rewire your brain?
And this shift was just monumental. They went from a physical gift to a cognitive one. Instead of getting a ship to escape the world, the gift became a language to understand the world in a new way. Suddenly, it wasn't about saving the entire species with a piece of tech. It was about transforming a single individual through perception. So in this new version, the heptapod language itself, with its beautiful circular logograms that represent a nonlinear concept of time, that became the technology. It wasn't a tool for your hands. It was, as some people have perfectly put it, a firmware upgrade for the brain that completely changes how you experience reality.
And this, right here, brings us to the most important part of this whole story.
Because this forced change didn't just make Arrival a different movie, it made it an immeasurably better one. It's what elevated it from just a great sci-fi film into a true masterpiece.
I mean, just think about the two climaxes. The original was about all the nations of the world coming together to build a spaceship, a big, external, very Hollywood solution. The final ending, though, it's about one person, Louise, using her new perception of time to make a single phone call and stop a war. It's totally internal, quiet, and deeply psychological.
This one single change elevated the entire film. It turned a pretty basic survival story into this profound philosophical exploration of time and choice and love. It became about the human condition, not just the survival of the human species. And this is why Arrival feels so unique and so timeless. It's what allowed the film to find its own, much more powerful voice.
Because ultimately, the final film isn't really about humanity escaping to the stars at all. It's about Louise Banks making the conscious choice to bring her daughter into the world, knowing every moment of joy and every moment of devastating heartbreak that's going to come. It's a story about choosing to embrace life, not just to survive it. And that really leaves us with this final thought to just kind of chew on. Which is truly the greater gift? Is it the technology that allows our species to survive for another 1,000 years? Or is it the perspective that allows a single person to truly live, right now, in the full, beautiful, and tragic reality of it?